Hey, everybody. Good morning. Evan here today with a fascinating discussion with a company I've been dying to know more about, Infobip. Ivan from Infobip, how are you?
Hi, I'm very good. How are you?
Well, thanks for joining. I know you're traveling in India right now in a hotel, so hopefully the Wi Fi will hold out for us. But perhaps before we dive in, perhaps introduce yourself and a little bit about the core mission at Infobip.
Yeah, so I'm Ivan, Chief Business Officer of Infobip. I have broad remit from strategy through go-to-market, marketing, partnerships, developer experience, and yeah, I've been, technologist in my heart for a number of years. I think what attracted me to Infobip and our overall mission is really to democratize future of digital interactions between businesses and people through breakthrough innovation. So we've been innovators and brought many trends from A2P messaging to um, novel engagement tools, enabling businesses to chat with their customers like they would chat with friends, and now enabling them to drive conversational transformation with the tools that we have. And I
Wow,
think one curiosity, maybe for many listeners, Infobip actually, we bootstrapped the company to $1 billion revenue with no external investment. And then we started further expansion in the United States. So pretty unique story, but that's probably for another call.
I don't know. That is a fascinating story. I think our viewers would be shocked and intrigued to hear that. Let's give a little context. We have a quick video on your YouTube channel. I'll play it. By the way, you have a fantastic YouTube channel. I'm surprised more brands don't do more with YouTube. But let's take a look, and I'll get your feedback here. Wow, that's something else. So tell us, how do you orchestrate these conversations? Tell us about the platform and the capability we're looking at behind the scenes there.
Yeah, so maybe also reflecting to this video. So there is one interesting KPI that we track as Infobip, and that's how many mobile devices in the world have we touched through our services. I mean,
Hmm.
we are not B2C company, so we didn't touch them directly, but through other customers that use us. So in principle, last year was 2/3 of all mobile devices in the world that
Wow.
were touched by our services. And the reason why we talk about interactions and not communication is because we're doing things like conversational commerce. So it's not just like streaming messages, but actually people can buy things in their chat app or etc. So in order to enable that customer experience layer in conversational channels, we have relatively complex, what we call full stack platform. And every communication and interaction is relying on a powerful infrastructure. So that's where we start. We are grounded in infrastructure and strong engineering. We have more than 850 direct connections with telcos, which means that we terminate our communication in these telcos. But also we have hardware there, so we can expose their network APIs, meaning providing more functionalities like looking if the number exists, phone number, as well as some hardware to protect those networks from spam and fraudulent message. Then in that infrastructure layer, there are also, we run 42 data centers, 40 are on our private cloud, and 2 are a result of our partnership with MS Azure. And this provides high reliability, a high redundancy of our services because communication has to be uninterrupted every second, and we are managing extremely large volumes. And then our partners, chat app providers, they also feed their infrastructure through our infrastructure to the customer. So that's an infrastructure layer. that is kind of a base of the house, and then the house goes on. So then we have a channel layer, I'll explain. We have a platform layer, and we have customer engagement layer, and then we have our ecosystem layer, or what we call like exchange. So let me just in 3 minutes drive you through these other layers. So the channel layer is where various companies can simply access channels to communicate to their customers. And we have more than 30 channels that are truly natively integrated. So it's channels like SMS, MMS, voice, email, video, live chat, web push, app push, and then chat apps. So like WhatsApp, Apple Messages for Business, which is like iMessage for Business, Google RBM, so Google RCS Messages for Business, Viber, Line, Kakao, Zalo, etc., etc., and then also social media messengers like Instagram Messenger and Facebook Messenger. All of these are available through APIs. So if that's why we say democratizing future of interaction. So if any business wants to talk to their customer through a messaging or other channel anywhere in the world, because we're truly global in one platform, so everything is integrated, all they need to do is to integrate our API of that channel, or their actually unified API that unifies multiple channel under it. And then they can, with a little registration, depending on the rules of the channel, they can start sending. And that's true from a little store down the road to actually major corporations. So that's kind of democratization. And then that's in the channel layer. So, and people can just use our channels. They don't need to use anything else. However, on top of that house, we still have a platform layer. And what we mean by platform, we just launched CPaaS X. That's a set of modular API, because a lot of our customers are B2B2C companies. Take something like marketing automation and so forth. So they're onboarding hundreds of businesses, and they need to provision to these businesses channels, analytics, security. So what they do in our platform layer, this is built for them, so they can automate their work. So in principle, they can register businesses using API, because normally this is kind of manual process, but we have an API for that. It can reduce their engineering time. We also have failover and orchestration algorithms. So if you try to send a RCS to a consumer and platform detects that the message was not delivered, we can fail over to another channel to make sure critical communication reaches on time. We have security. So we have a product that detects artificial or fraudulent attempts to access the traffic. And then we also have analytics, right? So you can track your campaigns, the customer journey in the messaging channels and so forth, and expose it to your customers. So that's the kind of the third. If you remember, I said infrastructure, channels, platform, and then comes the customer engagement layer. This is in principle conversational engagement, because we enable two-way communication, mainly in the messaging channels between businesses and people. So we have a customer data platform that we don't sell as a customer data platform, but it's part of the stack that enable businesses to see real-time communication with their consumers, and they can then work with this data to create segments, to create rules, and so forth. Then we have a conversational marketing automation tool that works in conjunction with other marketing automation tools that enable people that are not skilled in programming to create customer journeys in various channels that we have that are natively integrated. And then we also have something we call Conversations, which is our conversational cloud contact center, where actually we enable consumers to approach businesses for support through conversational channels. So instead of calling, they can start chatting, and then we can put chatbot up front to automate the interactions, and we can escalate to an agent chatting or an agent calling. And with this, we enable conversational support. And then finally, we have our bot building frameworks that can enable people to build generative AI bots, rule-based bots, or intent-based bots. And then our exchanges, where our partner expose their APIs. So when people are building customer journeys in conversational channels, they can easily, plug and play other APIs that would create richer journeys. So for example, if you're creating a booking flow in something like WhatsApp for a tourist agency, maybe you need an insurance. So you can pull an insurance API into that flow from our exchange. So that's in principle like pretty rich stack, but as you can see, the goal of that stack is really to enable this kind of two-way conversation between businesses and people, and further kind of digital transformation. All our engagement tools are getting major AI uplift now. So for example, from our CDP, you could create customer segments by chatting to it, and then it can spell out, the program can, or the software can spell out segments, for example, using generative AI and other tools. So anyway, long story short, as you can see, a lot of tools, but one goal: enabling conversational future.
One goal indeed, and that's a fantastically rich set of capabilities. Let's talk about how you work with customers. Obviously, you're partnering with the telcos, but you're also supporting businesses and developers directly of all sorts. So how do you support those folks, and how do you go to market, really?
Yeah, so in principle, we have kind of, let's call it, three major go-to-markets on a very conceptual level. So we have our, of course, direct sales force, and that's where also Gartner recognizes us. In our industry, they recognize 3 mega providers. We are one of the 3, and then we are the only one which is recognized for its co-creation model. So we have a set of conversational UI consultants, for example, implementation consultants, and very large network of partners. So our typical customers are large, either platforms or meaning B2B to C platforms, or large enterprises. And then we sort of sit with these customers, understand their problem, and co-create solution together using our stack. So that's kind of direct go-to-market. The second one is, we call it digitally enabled. So we also serve mid-market. In principle, we have a good, let's say, growth engine, and then there are squads or people who are serving mid-market with various prepackaged solutions. And then finally, we have relatively fast-growing self-service, where we are now exposing all the tools, channels plus engagement tools in the self-service that's intended for smaller startups, smaller companies, and as well as developers. So, and we have a developer experience team that's working to bring more developers on the self-service platform. So those are main 3, let's say, vectors. And we separate between B2B to C because platforms require much more technical, like CPaaS X that you just saw on the screen, while enterprises want to talk much more about business value that we can bring, right? It's more kind of, what can you do with me, for me? How can you improve my marketing and things like that?
Indeed. Yeah, so such a variety of use cases and opportunities there. So describe the engineering team and the culture. You've been called an engineering powerhouse. I don't think that's an understatement, or is an understatement perhaps. So describe the team. Where are they? What are they doing? And what are the kind of skills to deliver these APIs and platform services?
That's a great question. So we say we're an engineering powerhouse because, I mean, simply, our people like to build things. As you see from the platform, it's really ground up. And I think, we have a global team. We have engineering centers at various locations, but the main hub is in the country from which company originates from, which is Croatia. So we have couple of engineering hubs there, and one in Bosnia, and then we have various other locations in UK, United States, and so forth. The culture is really kind of agile culture. They are real kind of full stack software developers together, combined with design people. And then, as we are building our products, especially in the engagement layer, we're now having cross-functional teams that include also commercial capabilities there to understand the customer. As I said already, design capabilities, and then software capabilities. So really, and operating at a kind of a high speed and rapid pace. I would say it's a very open culture. It's a very dynamic and, as I said, agile culture, really jiggling multiple priorities at a very rapid pace. People really like to go deep, understand things, and build, right? They're real builders. But what I would say, kind of recently, where we were also investing because of rise of AI, is our machine learning operations capabilities. So we want to enable more people to do machine learning, so not to have only rely on, let's say, data scientists, but really also software engineers being able to apply this capability. And as well, we've been working a lot on this kind of customer back, because our strength used to be in the historically, coming from telcos building APIs. We're really experts there, but now as we're moving more into kind of a tech, similar to a tech space with this conversational future, we also need to have this sort of customer back capabilities to rapidly, understand the business problem we are solving and then work back to create the solution. So those are kind of, let's say, two emerging capabilities, MLOps and this co-creation in a tech space.
That's fantastic. Well, congratulations. So you're known as a global powerhouse and with global reach, but a little bit less well-known, perhaps, in the USA. So I think you're changing that. And also, this marketplace is pretty dynamic and rapidly changing. Traditionally, you've had the Twilio out there, kind of with basic SMS, kind of setting up the market. But I imagine you're looking to go well beyond the traditional CPaaS set of services, right? I mean, so tell us about your plan for the next year or two.
Yes, and let me tell you a secret of the US. So when you start packing different layers of communication, actually, in the infrastructure layer and the platform layer, in the SMS space, we're probably the biggest player in the US. Also due to acquisition, we are one of the biggest, if not the biggest, also in voice, through acquisition of Peerless Network from Chicago. Now, having said what I said, our go-to-market in US was largely relying on partners. Some of these partners are also in the same industry where we are, so they built solution on top of our infrastructure. And we were very focused on B2B2C platforms. So we are partnering with some of the biggest companies in the world. Some of the logos are on our website, as well as biggest MarTech, some of the big MarTech platforms in the United States. That's why, our brand recognition is very niche. So people in that sort of industry know who we are. But when you move away from it, you're absolutely right. We're not that known and we didn't invest a lot in marketing. I think now, let's say, with the capabilities that we have, but also respecting the partner network that we have in US, like in marketing and so forth, I think we are finding a good area to add value for B2C companies in the US, especially as US is also at an interesting crossroads. Like rich communication channels, like conversational channels like WhatsApp have much higher penetration in other countries. Take Brazil or India, people don't even almost use email anymore. US is still very heavy on SMS, which is good. But actually, with Apple Messages for Business, with high penetration of iPhones and potential of telcos and Google launching RCS, we think then our software can come quite handy helping digital transformations like enabling support through chat, and especially also with Gen AI. And also we think that would work well in conjunction with our partners, because they usually have either MarTech platforms and so forth. So we can build these experiences, and we even launched the product called Experiences within different channels that would really sit nicely in the ecosystem with their platforms. So I think we intend to do much more now into B2C segments in the US using the conversational toolkit that we have. And that'll probably also result in a higher brand recognition, because we'll move away from a comfort zone, which is a niche that we are pretty strong into a broader area.
Yeah, as those who spent many decades in the industry, it's always been ironic to me that the US as a tech powerhouse has always been slow to adopt advanced messaging and communication services compared to the rest of the world. So even when SMS was launched, we were a slow adopter versus the rest of the world. So pretty ironic. Tell us about your personal journey with Infobip and your background and how that journey has been over the last many years.
Yeah, so I'm a technology aficionado. So I've done a PhD in like natural science, and then also masters in management, actually, of technology and economics at Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, which you have a large audience even in the United States. I mean, that's kind of like for people who don't know.
The ETH,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
went there.
ETH.
I
So
spent a
yeah,
couple of years
and
there. So yeah.
exactly. So I kind of like, and then I had my own startup in a digital space with some friends, and then one of my friends found a job in IBM, and somehow the leadership team kind of went different ways. And so he told me like, hey, just go to you're kind of perfect for a consulting firm, and we think McKinsey would like you. So I tried there, and I joined McKinsey. So then I worked a lot in McKinsey, but always at this intercept between like industry vertical. I was doing a lot of work in, for example, healthcare and then tech. And McKinsey was also evolving its own business model. So, it was really at the cusp of that transition from more traditional strategy boutique, that does slides, to a real kind of a tech powerhouse. So in 2015, McKinsey acquired Quantum Black that brought AI capabilities. And then I was part of that to build a business building practice called Leap, where we were partnering with businesses to build like large enterprises to build new businesses for them. And those were programs where you needed a tech talent, a business talent, and they would last for a couple of years. So I was pretty much engaged with that. And then I met the founders of Infobip, and I felt in love with the story, but also the opportunities, because we come from Europe, and I think it's not for anyone benefit that Europe is falling behind on tech. If you
Mm,
look at like last 30 years, there was no single company that was founded in Europe that entered the order of most valuable 100 companies in the world that came from Europe. There were 7 from US, take Google, take
mm,
Meta. There were four from China, but 0 from Europe. And so, I love the founders, I love the story, I love the technology and the opportunities that it gives, but it's also a mission. Hey, can we work together to raise one, notable tech company that comes from Europe but serves whole
mm.
world? So that's another mission. So as I felt in love with that mission, I decided to join this lovely story, and then continue driving impact for various businesses, or like I did in the past of my career. In McKinsey, I just want to say one last thing. I actually worked with a group of people at that time, Nico Henke, to found something we call McKinsey Technology Council, which people from outside of McKinsey, eminent technologists, and they're publishing yearly, McKinsey Tech Trend Index, and it's interesting. So as I said, I was really kind of always kind of trying to see the tech trends in the future, and then derive implications for business. So that's where my passion lies in.
Fantastic story. Um, so speaking of which, Croatia is, of course, the headquarters, and many Americans just know of Croatia as a fabulously beautiful vacation destination, and the background scenes for Game of Thrones, many of them. But actually, you have a very sophisticated and educated population. Has that been part of your secret to success as well?
Yes, I have to comment at our engineers. We have a lot of, I think officially we are HQ'd in London, just to be clear, but actually
Ah, I see.
the proper campuses, we have 2 large campuses are in Croatia, and large workforce. And yes, the part of the success, the whole region, I am Serbian myself, the whole region is actually very strong in coming from telco, right?
Mhm.
So at the beginning and even later, we were able to recruit a lot of tech talent in Croatia, especially. There's strong tradition of IT and so forth, and that was kind of, people are really working for a company with their full heart. They're there
Mm.
really because they're in love in what they do. And
Mhm.
our best programmers, they go on holidays, and they are solving, best engineers, they're solving like business problems. Just, it shows, not that we appreciate that people should also kind of have work-life balance, but it just shows you how passionate they are. And I think that was large part of our success. Yes.
Yes, kind of like me with social media. I'm tweeting and posting on vacation, maybe slightly different topics. But also, you have a big event coming up in Croatia in September, which I can't believe is next month. Time is just flying by. Tell us about that, and what people can expect who might be interested to attend.
Yeah, so we have actually two events, and one is
Two events.
I will take, yeah. So in September we will host Shift conference in Zadar. It's a beautiful place on the coast, and Shift is actually our event that even our brand. We have also Shift magazine. We did Shift in Miami. Is our kind of conference for developers and startups. And there we really are not talking about Infobip products. It's not commercial in many ways. It's really eminent tech leaders around the world or from developer community, presenting their story. And in Miami, we had a person who designed a game called Doom and many other,
Of course.
that
That
joined.
is
So it's
fantastic.
like that. That's kind of the thing that's happening in events. And some of our partners are talking about innovation. That's what's going to happen in Shift. That's really for developers, startups, tech, people who are passionate about technology. And then we have more focused event together with Vaz for telcos. That's going to happen in Šibenik in October. It's one of the largest like telco events related to messaging and so forth. We are also hosts this year. So two big things coming. And there will be more topics about network APIs, messaging, and so forth. That's kind of
Wow.
the
Great
scope of the other.
topics, great people, great location. Congratulations. That sounds so fun. Well, look, I know it's getting late there in India at the moment. Thank you so much for sharing your vision and all the insights. And thanks so much for watching, folks. Feel free to reach out to Infobip with any questions or even Ivan directly on social media. Happy to entertain. All right. Thanks so much.